driving in an RV to get medical treatments. We'll talk about that right now. Hey there, Dr. Dave, the RV Dummy. Thanks for being with me, and it's great to be back with you. I got a great question from a viewer. Let's get right into it. It's from FairyGirl. FairyGirl asks me, she says, I'm chronically ill on SSI disability, Social Security disability. I need an RV to travel to get treatments out of my state and can't afford hotels. I only make $800 a month disability. I have great credit and only $4,000 of debt from living through COVID hard times. What, if anything, can I do? Thank you. Peace. That's what she says. So, FairyGirl, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your disability and your medical treatments. And I'm sorry to hear that you've got to travel a distance to get medical treatment. I'm just going by assumption here that medical treatment, the type of medical treatment that you need is not available anywhere near you. So where you live, you've got to travel maybe several times a month or whatever it might be to get this medical treatment. You've got to stay overnight. You've got to stay somewhere. And you say you can't afford hotel rooms, so you've got to get an RV. Well, let me be brutally honest, like I always am, because my viewers and subscribers need honest information. Nothing can be sugar-coated. I need to tell you the truth. If you can't afford a hotel room, then you certainly cannot afford an RV. There's no way. It sounds like you make $800. You get $800 a month to live on, and you're still in some debt. My answer to you is absolutely 100%. Do not even try to or think about buying an RV. You just can't afford it. And again, like I always say, there's no shame in not being able to afford something, but there is a lot of shame in buying something that's way beyond your means, and then it just totally messes up your life, your financial life, etc. But I wouldn't be the RV dummy unless I could give you a possible solution. But I don't like just saying no to somebody without any kind of solution. So my solution is this: if you truly need to travel, find yourself, you say you can't afford a hotel room, but find yourself a cheapy room that's better than nothing. Because you can get a cheap hotel room these days in most towns and most cities for under $100 a night. And if you can't afford that, then you can't even be thinking about an RV. Let me relate a story to you, FairyGirl. A short time ago, a friend of mine relayed this story to me from somebody he knows really well, one of his RV groups. It's a couple that bought an RV, a Class B RV, and they bought it on the cheap. And they bought it for, I think, about is approximately $18,000. It was on the older side, had a lot of miles, but it looked really good, and they thought everything was going to be fine. $18,000 for a Class B RV. And you know, these days, most Class B RVs are going for much more than that. I mean, usually can't touch anything for $18,000, but they got it, they started driving it, they started taking some trips, and guess what? It started falling apart. And one thing after another, they kept pouring a ton of money into it. Before they blinked their eyes practically, they had put in the same amount of money, another $18,000 for repairs here and fixes up here and repairs, and $18,000 more dollars. So now they're $36,000 into this thing, and it had a major breakdown to the point where they could not even afford to fix it at all. So they just had to ditch the thing. They had to just basically leave it on the side of the road somewhere. So they're out $36,000. FairyGirl, if you're buying an RV, like I've told people for many years now, if you're buying an RV, not only do you have to be able to afford the purchase price, and without financing it, no financing, you have to be able to pay cash for the purchase price, but then you have to be able to afford all of the maintenance, repairs, storage, fixing things up that just will go wrong. Fuel. RVs take a lot more fuel than regular small cars. You know that. It's a very expensive lifestyle. It's not meant to be a cheap way to travel if you can't afford hotels. Nobody ever said that, or if they said that, it's totally wrong. It's not cheaper than hotels. I would say it's much more expensive than hotels. And it's a great lifestyle. Yoko and I have been doing this for years now. We love it, but we can afford it. And a lot of my viewers and listeners and subscribers can afford this lifestyle. But many people think that they deserve this. They worked hard all their lives, and even if they don't have any money, they still deserve to buy an RV because they want an RV. But no, life doesn't work like that. There are a lot of things that I want, and I think maybe I deserve, but I can't buy them, and I don't buy them because I can't afford them. So just keep that in mind. Let's only buy things that we are positive that we can afford. And again, I want to repeat, there's no shame. There's no shame in not being able to afford something, but buying things that are beyond your means, it's going to get you in a ton of trouble. It's going to really mess with you. I talk about this, by the way, and a lot more in my brand new book that just recently came out. It's called How to Become the Neighborhood Millionaire. Now, even if you have no interest in becoming a millionaire, or even if you already are a millionaire, it's just a really simple book on personal finance, how to be very comfortable and stress-free with your money, and how to get to a point where you can do almost anything in your life without having to worry about, can I afford this or not? Because you've got money tucked away, socked away, that you can it'll work for you, and you can live your life any way you want. And that's kind of where I am right now, because Yoko and I have been frugal, we've been very responsible with our money. Now we're at a point where, hey, we woke up one day or a few days, and we say, like, hey, we can do these things now that we've always wanted to do. We can do them almost without blinking an eye, because we've got the money to do it. It's a great feeling. I teach all the principles in my book, How to Become the Neighborhood Millionaire. FairyGirl, thank you so much for your question. I truly pray that you can work this out with your disability, with your medical treatments, and your necessary travel. But as of right now, from what you've told me, do not attempt to do it in an RV, please. See you all next time. Dr. Dave, the RV Dummy.